I am Leticia. I'm 31 years old. I'm wearing a black shirt as usual. I'm at home, so I have maybe a messy background. I don't know what you can see. And I'm kind of Brazilian, so a mixed kind of skin. We don't know a lot about it. And I'll share my screen with you. I hope you can see it.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
There you go.
So today I'm going to present Sonaar. There was a little bit of this on college presentation on Monday, so I will talk about a little bit more. Currently, I'm a postdoctoral researcher at University of Lisbon. So Sonaar is from Social Network Accessible Authoring, and actually, what we try to contextualize Sonaar is nowadays everybody has a social media, so social networks are in everybody's context nowadays. And with the proliferation of mobile devices, with cameras, everybody is uploading and sharing videos and images online. And social networks, they enable users to create and upload their content. So although their current interfaces are somewhat accessible, they also have to ensure that this content that is uploaded by users is also accessible. So, okay, so I'll have just I'll share you with you a timeline of accessibility features that are developed by these platforms, by major platforms. So in 2016, Twitter introduced an alternative text input for users to share to provide an alternative description. And in 2016 also, Facebook introduced a machine-generated alternative description. And only in 2018, Instagram also developed accessibility features. So they developed also an input field for users to provide their own alternative description and machine-generated alternative description. And in this year only, Twitter make a change in their accessibility features that before it was not by default. So we have to really search in the settings options to enable it. So today is a default setting for users to provide their own text alternative description. So maybe we have a lot of problems still with this major platform, but I'll share with you three major problems. The first one is that major kind of needs that really are used today, they cannot benefit from this machine-generated text alternatives. So now I'm showing two media. So the first one is a GIF from Tom Hanks in the Apollo 13 movie, where he says, "Houston, we have a problem." And the second one is an image with a text inside, where he says, "Houston, we have a problem." So these two kinds of media, they are not being benefit from machine-generated alternative description. And so that means the user, they have to provide this kind of description. So here we come to the second problem, that social media users, they don't know that we can do this. And even though they are aware, they don't know how to do it. And the second problem is that resharing this content across platforms may result in losing the description. So Sonaar goals is to prototype a mechanism that is able to increase the amount of accessible user-generated content, and it is going to be available on mobile and desktop platforms. So we have four specific goals in order to do this. The first one is to facilitate the authoring of web accessibility directive compliance content, deploy user-generated accessible content on mobile and web platforms, ensure an accessible content authoring process, and also engage users in the production of this type of content. So for that, we established four research questions. The first one is which barriers do users encounter when sharing and authoring accessible content? The second one is what are the requirements for them to do it. The third one is what are the motivations, why people are doing it. And the fourth one is how can we motivate, how can we engage users into doing it. So we got our research, two types of research. The first one was an online survey. So we got 259 participants, and the questionnaire was available for language, English, Portuguese, Spanish, and French. And from all these participants, we got 64 self-reported having a disability. So we were really interested in getting a wide range of users. So we were actually trying to have the more mainstream users to get their feedback. And on the survey, we had demographics, social media usage, and accessible practice questions. And for all those participants, we follow up with 20 of them. So 12 of them reported having a disability. And we asked them if they were used to sharing accessible content. And for those who said no, we asked them to try it. So to post it 3 or 4 content medias and share with us their experience. So I'll try to summarize our key findings. So we have a lot of data, and I'm just finishing to analyze all of this. So I'm going to share the findings that are really important for us. So the first one, when we ask about the frequency of access, we have, for me, was surprising because more users with disabilities responded to access social networks. So they tend to use more than users without disabilities. The second one is what about the social networks that they use it. So Facebook is most accessed by people without disabilities, followed by Twitter, and followed by Instagram, and then Twitter. And among users with disabilities, we have Twitter as the first preferred social network, followed by Facebook. And only one of them said that he used Instagram frequently. We also asked about the content that they are used to post. So users with disabilities, they tend to post more text content than users without disabilities, as you can imagine. And also we have a pretty good indicator that we really have a problem, because while around 40% of users without disabilities are not used to post GIFs and memes on their social networks, this percentage goes up to 70 among users with disabilities. So we also asked about their accessible practices. So we asked them about their 3 last media content posts, if they had described this content. So surprisingly not, 69% of users without disabilities said that didn't provide an alternative description, while 71% of people with disabilities, they do it. So that's also an indicative that we have a problem. And the last one is we asked why they didn't provide it. So 30% of them, they didn't know it was possible. 21, they didn't know where to write it. 15, they think that it's too time consuming. And 14 don't know how to write on a alternative description. And 20% of them also provided other reasons. So for the interviews and these open answer questions, we try to summarize here in our research questions. So how can we respond to our research questions with the data that we collected? The first one about the barriers. So what are the problems they are facing when trying to sharing and altering accessible content? The first one is that they're not aware of the approaches that we can take. The second one is they feel that accessibility features may represent a setback from the navigability. They also feel that it's not necessary for the context, so maybe they just post and share for some close friends and family that do not have a disability. Platforms, they don't make it a requirement, and they don't have prompt to warning, so they may feel like this is an optional feature. There's an optional information to provide. And also they have low information on what is considered an appropriate alternative description. And also they struggle with how to find and not user-friendly accessibility features. The second one is what are the requirements? So what we should have on these features to help users. The first one is create awareness. So in the technological aspect, how can we do this? We can just emphasize accessibility features. We can make it more obvious for users to do it and make it a part of authoring and content sharing. And also we concluded that alternative description must be a balance of this technological advance, so in automatic image recognition and machine generated, but also involving users into sharing their own context details and why they did share this content. The third one is about the motivation. So users are mainly interested in sharing accessible content because it's the right thing to do. And they also are interested in including people with disabilities, but they also share with us some side effects of accessibility. So the first one is to improve search engine results, evolving current AI solutions. And they also said that these alternative access options are interesting when they experience other limitations, just like device limitations or internet network limitations. And also these options are useful for language learners or when we are accessing content in other languages. And the last one is how can we motivate, how can we engage users into this practice? So the first one is we found out that people tend to be more aware when they have contact with people with disability, but also when they are confronted with current accessibility approaches. They are motivated in understanding how their content is being consumed by people with disabilities. They don't know how people with disabilities access technologies, social networks, so they're really interested in knowing more about it. And making them part of this process may educate them about accessibility practice and may contribute also to engage them more frequently in such practice. So the next step of the project would be effectively designing a new interaction flow that is also accessible and design a prototype, a mechanism that that can enable users to provide an alternative description and also to try to capture a little bit of more machine generated into this context. So thank you. And for last, I'm sharing this from Tom Hanks. I think it's from the Big movie, I'm not sure. And there's a kind of wordplay with his initials. It's T. Hanks, so when he's waving and when he puts his hand, he says it's written thanks. So that's the kind of difficulty that we're facing today, how to describe this type of content. Thank you.